So in today's video, I'm going to break down the exact strategy that we use with luxury high-end premium brands. This is the exact step-by-step strategy that I use to increase revenue by using predictable email increases. Firstly, these are key important segments that you need. So we need to break these customers down into important segments, right? So firstly, you've got the VIPs, and next you've got the dormant VIPs, and next you've got the high intent buyers, and then you've got, last but not least, the new customers that sign up, right? So I'm going to go through exactly what these guys are, how you could pull those and segment that into Klaviyo, right? So we'll go through that in a second. We're going to look at the natural increase. We're going to look at how many repeat purchases came back without any effort or anything. So we're going to break that into 4 key. So firstly, you've got the VIPs, right? So these are guys who have ordered at least twice over the lifetime, right? High average order value, a lifetime value, let's just say, for example, in this instance, of $2,000, right? And they would have placed an order within the year, so within 365 days, right? So we're going to label these guys the VIPs, and you can label this on Klaviyo as well, right? This VIP segment does it allows us to have a predictable revenue. It allows us to do early access flows and VIP flows for them. That's what this segment allows us to do. The next, you've got the dormant VIPs. So these are similar to the VIPs, but they've not been active for a while. So they've got a high lifetime value of, let's say, $2,000 or $1,000, but they haven't bought from you within the last 190 days. So these are inactive dormants, and we need to re-engage with these guys, right? So they've bought before, but there's something in there, some reason they haven't bought. So we're going to do that. We're going to target them again. Next, what we've got is the high intent buyers, right? So looking at here, these are high intent buyers. So they've viewed the product, but they haven't bought yet. So we can see what they've viewed through Klaviyo, right? They have viewed the product at least twice in the last 30 days. They placed an order 0 times since starting this flow, right? So they've browsed around, they've viewed, but they haven't placed an order. So we're going to message these guys. We're going to use social proof. We're going to time the message perfectly because we know they've browsed, so it's a good time to message them, right? Last but not least, you've got the new buyers, right? So these are guys who, bought first time, and they're going to be future VIPs. So we're going to need to transition them into future VIPs, right? Make them into high lifetime, high average order value clients. And what we need to know about these guys is that their second purchase is probably going to be the highest one right after their first order. So we need to transition them into a second purchase, right? So just to summarize that, you've got the VIPs who have ordered twice, high lifetime value within the last 12 months. The dormant VIPs, so these are VIPs with no recent orders, a high average order value, but they haven't ordered recently. So we need to reactivate those guys, right? And then you've got the high intent buyers. So they've had a browsing intent and they haven't bought them. So we need to time that. We know they've browsed, so we're going to time them to convert those into actual buyers. And then you've got the new buyers who've placed their first order within the last 30 to 60 days. And we want to get them to make the second purchase, right? So this is what we need to do. We need to look at existing customers that have bought off us, and we need to convert them, right? So what we'll then do, we've got all the segments, we've broken down what they are, we've defined now what every single segment is, right? So now what we're going to do, we're going to put in this calculator that I made. So if you look on here, this is a kind of a client example that we've got already. So we plug in the figures for these guys, right? So we do the maths. We do the maths, so we predict, we look at the historically back data, and then we look at the prediction. So here's a breakdown here. This is my revenue forecaster here. So we could look at mass market and luxury. So in this instance, at a client who we're looking at the luxury side of it, right? Okay, so then what we'll do is we'll look at those segments and we'll look at plug and playing it into here, right? We go through what the VIPs are. So there are 660 VIPs, average order value is $850, and the return purchase, this is looking at the actual data, around 10%. So 10% of those guys return without any effort, right? So they put no effort. So what we're saying, with good personalization, looking at pre-engagement flows, and looking at good timing, we can increase this flow by 5%. And here's the revenue increase, 25,755, just with a small 5% increase, right? And then we do the same for the dormant. So we count the dormant, and this client here, for example, there was a 10% return rate, and you've got 8% return rate here and a 10% there. So we would look at realistically increasing all of those by 5%. And how we would do that? So we would target those same customer profiles. We'll look at the customer profiles and we'll be like, okay, let's look at personalizing the emails. So we'll look at the VIPs. We'll look at what they bought before and we'll personalize that email. We'll send a personal email flow, looking at what they bought, talking about, their craftsmanship and the story and everything. And we'll get them to repurchase again. And then the dormant VIPs, we need to do a completely new re-engagement with those guys. So, we'll set up a flow, look at the new customers, we'll look at, sending personalized messages to those guys, look at, what they've already bought and, what they like, to help them with their product, talk about the product that they've already bought and what they could do with it, what a actual product that matches well with that, what goes well with that. They might have bought some shoes or some trousers that may go with that. So we'll look at matching those up as well. The people who are browsing, so they should be an easy target because they're already browsing. They're browsing, so now it's a good time to get in their inbox and send a message out. So we'll set up a flow with every single one of those to bring them back, because the thing is, like, we already know that this has already worked, right? We already know that these guys have purchased these, have been active in the past. They've spent a lot of money, so there's no point spending time on, trying to get new types of customers, or looking at new segment. This is historically back data. So this is historically back data that's already worked, right? We'll look at kind of VIP flows, invitational flows. So the language that we use will be different. We'll look at the deliverability. So, things are not landing into spam. But these are easy fixes that you could do, and if you want a copy of this calculator, we've got a more simple version where you could just plug it and play in your figures, and you want to look at what you've got and what the potential is, just drop the comment revenue below and I'll get that sent over to yourself. So guys, if you haven't subscribed or make sure you're following. But look, this is a simple formula that I use. It's very effective, very clear. There's a clear transaction there, so it works well.